soundtrack on the piano, like from the
Change your mind.
when you have moments. No, he is washed.
It's fine. Change your mind. Let me know. Or let your mom know. What else? What else? What else?
I think that's one issue we have is, people apply here because we're in California and from all over the country. And then they come here and they go, oh.
Any younger?
Which for us, I don't want to, I mean, I love it here so much, but it's not for everybody.
Also, Scarlett, I'm going to be spending a little time. Oh, sorry. Are you?
So I remember the.
I'm listening to you.
Oh, I'm going to be spending a little time, as I think I mentioned yesterday, arranging chairs and stuff for possible Christmas, Eve, just thinking about it. So if you have a couple minutes to weigh in on that,
Yeah, for sure.
let me know. Do you today? It won't be much more than a minute or two, just like how would this work for you? Water, Charles, better keep my focus.
No, that.
Very nice.
I think we're going now, though. The keys are freezing.
I remember pushing the.
To warm them up.
We really should get some. It's embarrassing. We can't get it, that helps. I mean, not that she ever even speaking to it. It's just that, the lever for that university was. And it's just the way it's works.
Yeah. Okay. Can't go any further. She's writing on spiders in my house.
Good morning.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. Just a little bit.
Yeah, we lost two major people.
Go out and see what's going on in the
Yeah,
Senator Warner.
yeah. And Scarlett, when we,
Could we try the mic on the other side, just because it's like kind of blocking the chalice with the
Oh,
mic
yeah.
stand here? So
absolutely.
maybe if we try it on this side, it'll be less in your way. Better, worse.
I'll just put it back slightly. Try to keep this a little flatter. Test, test. Good morning. Trying to see if this works all right. Let's see if I can see my goodies. Can I see myself? Jump back, kiss myself. Is that all right?
Yeah, I think that'll work a lot better. You can see the chalice. There's a lot going on over the.
Dun-dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun, dun. Dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun, dun-dun, dun. That's okay, Jack. Another time, or if you change your mind, it's all right. Maybe someone else will come and they'll want to do it.
Yeah, mute it again. Yeah, I think that works out better.
Thank you. Hey, Annette. Oh, go ahead. You're just, I noticed you weren't here last week and it struck me that I don't know, do you have a regular schedule of Sundays off?
No,
No, you have a certain amount that you,
unless somebody tells me otherwise, I'm here.
okay. So last week Amy had said no need.
Right.
Okay. Are there a number of breaks that you get over the contract
No.
year or?
No,
Okay,
I'm just here unless somebody tells me not to, or, if I need to be gone.
sure.
It's very
Of course.
open-ended because I wanted it that way. 'Cause,
Okay.
My mom being old and
Okay.
all that kind of stuff.
I
so-
just wanted to check so I wasn't unaware of something that you might need.
No,
Okay.
it's just-
Yeah,
No, if I need it, I'm like,
and you're not here Christmas Eve, right? You told me earlier, you said you
No.
won't do it, which is fine. I'm planning. So just check.
Christmas is not a good time.
Yeah. Okay, yeah,
Oh,
no,
my
no
favorite time of
expectations.
year.
Not your favorite time of year?
No.
Okay. I won't ask right now.
I know, I was kind of hoping, kids got planned just to ignore this year and then have 5 more kids.
Oh,
Multi-generational.
Of course, the oldest is 19 now, so.
well, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
So
like,
they're,
I mean, I know.
they're a little beyond the need.
No, I'm sure he's still excited. Yeah, he's in college.
Where's he going to school?
He's at the Clement Falls Institute of Technology.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, studying computers. He was in cyber computer stuff, but now he just changed his major to something else.
Okay.
That has to do with computers, but I don't understand
I
it.
wouldn't know either.
Yeah, and the next one is graduating from high school this year at 6 Rivers. And the next one is 13. Gone. Girl, and she's 13. So that's scary. And the next one is turning 4 in February. Let me.
Good morning, everyone. So I want to invite you now. The invitation is, as Annette plays, just to use this time to settle in, to drop whatever it took to get you here, either physically or on Zoom with us today, and just allow this transition to be a place to settle in, be with your senses, be with one another, and come into the present moment. Thank you. Thank you, Annette. As a mother of a school-age child, I'm always reminded when there's the clatter of real life happening in the midst of our sublime beauty that's calling us into this space, that it's a both and, right? We create sacred space in the midst of the noise and the hubbub and everything that's happening. So thank you for being here. We welcome you. My name is Amy Day. I am the director of what is my title? It's long. Lifespan Religious Exploration, or DLRE, which is a lot more fun to say. So I want to welcome you into this space. Before Reverend Peter comes up and lights our chalice and invites us a little layer deeper into this, I want to take a moment to just acknowledge the land on which we gather. I don't think any opening of sacred space would be complete without first taking a moment to honor the We Up people, and to notice that we are gathered amongst a people who continue to live blessedly, right, amongst us, that we are lucky to have in our midst. So as Unitarian Universalists, we acknowledge that though we did not play a part in the rupture and the taking of this land, we are also called to be a part of the reparations and the honoring that is needed at this time. So I want to invite you just to take a breath as a thank you and acknowledgement to the people that have tended this ancestral land before us. May we see ourselves as temporary caretakers and stewards, and may we take care of this space and this time well.
Good morning. Each Sunday, we light a chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. Our accompanying words today are adapted from reading number 434 in our Singing the Living Tradition hymnal, which you would normally have under non-COVID circumstances in your possession, but we're not doing it that way right now. Sacred Spirit of our radically interconnected existence and our deeply intertwined lives, help us to remember here our highest aspirations. May we know once again that we are not isolated beings, but related in mystery and miracle to the universe, to the communion of all life, and to each other. In kindling our Unitarian Universalist chalice flame, we invoke and invite into this space the divine light of wisdom, the sacred fire of justice and compassion, and dedicate ourselves anew to bringing our fullest gifts of love and service to the altar of humanity. Today, we are forced to take a short, somber detour from our usual liturgy, because it is our custom when a beloved member of our fellowship has died to pause at this time in our service. This morning, we do so to honor the memory of Marianne Penicamp, who died Friday morning after falling some days ago. Her son Peter was at her bedside, humming Bach's Ode to Joy to her as she took her last breath. Marianne was 97 and a longtime member of this congregation who was very much involved in the life of this community. Marianne will be greatly missed. Our thoughts go out to the Penicamp family and close friends, including many in this fellowship. A memorial will take place in the new year, and we will keep you posted on that. We will no longer hear the sound of her voice, see light in her eyes, or feel the touch of her hand. And so we extinguish the flame of our chalice to mark this physical death. Yet her spirit lives in the many hearts and minds of those she touched on life's journey. So we light this candle to signify that ongoing light that remains. And because she is forever part of the spirit and fabric of this community that she helps sustain, we relight our chalice to symbolize how her love and influence will go on shining within us. In mystery, we are born. In mystery, we live. And in mystery, we die. Blessed be your spirit, Marianne, and amen. Thank you, Annette. Every week, we also renew our commitment to this fellowship's foundational aspiration. Please join me in these words as printed in your order of service. May love be the spirit of this fellowship, may the quest for truth be its sacrament, and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. Now is the time especially set aside for the younger ones in our congregation. We invite the children up front to come and hear a story or whatever activity Amy has in mind, a book today. And parents and caregivers are also welcome to come up front, or anyone who is feeling particularly young at heart today.
Get the pictures, right? Which is really half the fun. You want to come join us?
Hey, Maxine. Maxine.
Oh, Max. Max, do you want to scooch over just a little and let our friends come in?
Maxine.
I think we'll figure it out. We'll make it happen. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So when I saw that the subject today that Reverend Peter's going to talk about is happiness, I thought about all the things that make me happy. And I know, so just a tiny little story before our story. When my daughter, who's almost 10 now, it's crazy, was just baking in the oven, that was me. I did not buy her any clothes. I did not buy her any diapers. I did not buy her any bottles. I didn't buy her anything practical before she came to live with me. Do you know what I bought her? Books. I bought her books. So when she was born, even though she couldn't do anything with them, she had a whole pile waiting for her. And then when she was old enough, our new favorite ritual was to go to the library once a week. So during the pandemic, that was one of the hardest things, not going to the library. Does anyone else have that experience? Yeah. So I wanted to share this book with you today that my daughter has sadly outgrown. I don't know how she did that, but I have not, called The Hug Machine. And it's just one of my favorites because it's about a boy that goes around spreading happiness in a way that's available to us all. So, The Hug Machine by Scott Campbell. Whoa, here I come. I am the hug machine. I am very good at hugging, the best at hugging. No one can resist my unbelievable hugging. I am the hug machine. My hugs calm people down. They cheer them up. They make them go completely nuts. I am the hug machine. Do people look a little surprised? Like, what are you doing? Do I know you? I hug everything I see. What is he hugging? a tree, a bench, a fire hydrant, as one does, a mailbox. No one escapes the hug machine. My hugs make the biggest feel small, the smallest feel big. I hug soft things, hard things, square things, long things. I am the hug machine. Oh, to the little baby, do you need a hug? I think you do. Hug accomplished. Sorry, Maxie. There is nothing the hug machine will not hug. You see the porcupine? What about me? I'm so spiky. No one ever hugs me. He puts his protective gear on. They are missing out. What does he see there? A whale. Big giant whale. What about me? Surely I am too big for you to hug. His eyes look like they got a little bit bigger there. It's like, how do I hug a whale? Of course not. Grab my ladder, slide down your back. Not a problem for the hug machine. People often ask what the hug machine eats to keep the hugging energy high. Well, the answer is pizza. A hug machine likes pizza very much. Refueled and ready for action. Hug, 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 hug the neighbor, hug the lady with a stroller, hug the tree, hug the man playing a trombone, hug the people on a picnic, hug a random person at the drinking fountain, hug the drinking fountain, hug the construction workers, hug the lady walking school kids, hug the guy on roller skates, hug the guy mowing his lawn, hug the mailman, hug the mailbox, hug the guy jogging, hug the random person on the skateboard, hug the dog and the person walking the dog. Whew, hug. What a tiring day of hugging. The hug machine is exhausted. Hug machine can hug no more. Oh, and who's there to offer him something in return? A hug. Yeah. Why, yes, you may hug the hug machine. Hug machine is always open for business. So thank you for reading that favorite story with me. Now we have the opportunity, and caretakers are welcome to come with. We're going to go to our own classroom, and we have a song that we like to sing in these times. We like to hum it quietly for safety's sake, but Annette will play as we and the RE staff exit and go to our classroom.
I want to thank Amy for kind of a last minute fill-in. Tom Lewis was going to be our worship associate today. As some of you know, Tom was in the hospital with pneumonia a week ago. He is at home and recovering fairly well, and gradually. I'll be, myself and Annette and Scarlett will take it from here today. And I'm a little embarrassed because, I'm going to talk about happiness later, and there's not the word hug anywhere in that talk. And it's like, that's a serious omission. So I want to help Amy, thank Amy for filling that in for me. And we are a metaphorically hugging, welcoming and caring congregation. And one way we show this is by honoring any joys or sorrows or concerns we carry in our hearts and spirits. So one at a time, those who wish to may come forward and take a pebble or several from the bowl on the stand. And I must say that Annette had to brainstorm. Some of you know, and maybe some of you don't, that this, I'll hold it up so Zoom people can see it too. The stand on which the joys and sorrows pebbles sit today is Marianne's footstool. She was tall and, huge in spirit and not tall in stature. So someone along the way built this footstool for her, and it has her name on it. So another way to honor her is you take a stone today, you're taking it from something that Marianne has and is supporting. And once you take pebble or pebbles, you can come forward, share your joy or concern, and drop your pebble in the water. And what else did I want to say? Oh, yeah, and you can also come up and not say anything, but just spend a moment, drop a pebble for your own personal reasons. And if you're new to us and you care to or comfortable, come on up and tell us what brought you here, just for a moment. It's all up to you, though. So take your stone, speak if you like, drop your stone. So we begin.
Good morning, I'm Chip. Stone of appreciation for Sina Marino, Laurel Busse, who helped to warm up the corner at 4th and V Streets in Eureka yesterday and hold the Black Lives Matter and the climate action banners. And this beautiful agate is for Marianne. If you have not seen the documentary put together by Joy Harden and Amy Uyeki, I strongly recommend it. So, Marianne, One Immigrant's Journey.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Day. Sorry I'm late this morning, but I don't have a phone because my phone got wet. It was new and it's ruined, so I'm usually a very punctual person. It's been a tough week. The same day my phone got ruined, my bike was stolen. And anyone who knows me, I'm very attached to my bike. And it's my main form of transportation, and I've had it for 15 years. So I'm trying to get it back. We'll see. Anyways, I realized that with no mud, there can be no lotus. So for anyone else who's having a tough week, just remember that. That's by Thich Nhat Hanh. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Carolyn, and this is my first time back since COVID started. So anyway, it's nice to be back. I'm putting one stone in for your bike, and I hope you get it. I had mine stolen once, and I totally get it, you know. The other's for Marianne. Marianne was my mentor from, I don't know, late 80s in teaching, and she really helped me to develop the humanity of my students. And I don't know how many of you were at a meeting we had here, I don't know, quite a few years ago. I'm sure some of you were, where a man was talking about death and dying, and Marianne was there, and he asked us all what we would like to be doing in 10 years. And I think this was probably 6 or 7 years ago. You remember? Marianne's response was that she hoped she would be dead because she didn't want to live into being so old she couldn't take care of herself. So I thought that was a little bit of an insight into her. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Kristen. I'm new to this space. I just finished graduate school out in Boston, and that's where I found UU Faith. And I just returned to the area to settle and become a high school science teacher.
Hello, I am Joanne. I sometimes go now by Mick Greta in honor of Greta Thunberg. So I can't find my blue marble in there. So this is just a plain old rock from the river that I drop for the river of life and for the earth. But the one thing I really remember Marianne about Marianne is the concept of altruism. And we've lost Sam Oleiner and his wife Pearl earlier this year, and now Marianne, who was part of the Institute of Altruism and Pro-Social Behavior, and altruism will save us. So thank you, Marianne, for being a part of that movement.
Hi, I'm Bertie, and I have two pebbles. One is to acknowledge Marianne, who was a friend of this fellowship for a long, long time. From her Jewish heritage, it was only after we got the Aspiration, which moved her to that she actually joined the congregation. And it was her speaking about the power of the words fellowship to be inclusive, when the word church, that so many congregations have chosen the word church, is not exactly inclusive to people of other than Presbyterian faith. So I acknowledge a lesson for Unitarian Universalism from Marianne. And this is a pebble of gratitude for the adult and teen challenge for adult. Well, we've had several days of adult teen challenge crew here. And as you can see, most of the sod is on the playscape, and it's a work in progress. So take a look, see how the progress is going, and I'm very excited and pleased.
Hello, my name is Sylvia. I'm very new to this space and to worship spaces in general. I'm here to explore, and the stone is for the joy and excitement in the adventure of exploration.
This is going to be for my wife, Darcy. And also, we have been following along with Peter's loss and his mother. And many, many years we've known and got together. And I would like to start the bid on the box because my wife is down today and she is the same size and everything else. And she loves her and jumps all around her when she's here. So there's going to be 2 stones, and hopefully I'll start at $20. Okay.
Oh, I thought that was gonna get you. I can reach the floor.
I'm Cheryl Rao, and I'm Cheryl Rao, and I'm going to do 2 stones. One for the fact that in the middle of all this sort of uncertainty that we're getting new people. Yeah. And the other one is for my frequent Sunday conversations with my brain is left, the person we're discussing today, Marianne.
I taught in early childhood for like 40 years, a number of them at CR as the assistant director and teacher of children and parents. And she was such an advocate for the appropriate things for children and families. And I would just go, it was always subsidized childcare. And in that population, wonderful people, but lots of times they have very challenging lives. And as the person where their children came, it was a constant interaction. And, like I would say something like, I just don't know what to do about this one family. And she would say, just be there.
Hello, my name is Scarlett Tripp-Smith. I'm the technical director here at Huff, and I will be sharing the joys and sorrows from Zoom with you today. From John Schaefer, please hold my friend, Father Arthur McDonald, in light as he wrestles with mental challenges. From Debbie Harrison, thought and UU prayers to my cousin Linda, who is in the midst of medical workup. She says they are leaning toward a diagnosis of ALS. From Kim Tripp-Smith, sending love and support to the parents and kids at the Oxford High School in Michigan, the latest site of a gun massacre. My heart is so heavy for their suffering. From Susie Hutzis, a big hug of love and symphony of joy, harden a long time of my friend Marianne. She co-created the film. From Cindy Quap, another pebble for my dear friend Marianne. She pushed me to always consider the needs of families and made a huge impact on the lives of many all over the world. She was a super soul and will be missed. From Shalom Fletcher, positive vibes and prayers toward my papa, Joe Sarafin, who is battling cancer. And thank you all who decided to be present today, whether it's in person or on Zoom. I really like what somebody came up here and said earlier, because I feel like we all have been in the mud lately. And it's okay to jump around in the muddy puddles and lay around and get dirty, because that's all part of the fun. So thank you.
I'd like to drop a stone of gratitude personally for all of those who shared about their experiences of Marianne. I know there are many more in this congregation and in the world. And, I'm regretful that being relatively new, I did not have a chance to get to know her in a fuller way. And suddenly that chance is gone. So blessings, Marianne, and thanks to all of you. We hold in our care all that has been shared and know that some things are so large, so fresh, or so fragile that tending to them inwardly seems best at this time. So we also hold these tender truths in our hearts and drop one last pebble for all the unspoken joys and sorrows that connect our beloved community. We'll follow this with just a moment of silence, during which you can add any more unspoken cares or prayers. Our Soul Matters theme for December is Opening to Joy. Soul Matters, for those of you who don't know, is sort of a program that's put together by an outside group that we take advantage of and just send some materials each month, and it gives us a focus of reflection and conversation. And Opening to Joy is this month's. And personally, I'm kind of undecided whether we can cultivate joy per se. Mostly it seems to arrive unannounced. That said, certainly joy and happiness are related. And so I chose to sort of focus on happiness today. And one way to cultivate joy, it seems, or open to joy, would be to cultivate greater happiness. And so luckily, some very wise people have thought about these things and have teachings to offer. And one of these is the Dalai Lama, who wrote a book with psychiatrist Howard Cutler called The Art of Happiness. And our reading today is an abridged section of that excerpt. And the first speaker here is the Dalai Lama speaking to an audience. I believe it is the very purpose of our life to seek happiness. That is clear. Whether one believes in religion or not, whether one believes in this religion or that religion, we are all seeking something better in life. So I think the very motion of our life is toward happiness. And Howard Cutler continues, with these words spoken before a large audience in Arizona, the Dalai Lama cut to the heart of his message. But his claim that the purpose of life was happiness raised a question in my mind. Later, when we were alone, I asked, "Are you happy?" "Yes," he said. He paused, then added, "Yes, definitely." There was a quiet sincerity in his voice that left no doubt. But is happiness a reasonable goal for most of us? I asked. Is it really possible? Yes, I believe that happiness can be achieved through training the mind. The concept of achieving true happiness has, in the West, always been ill-defined, elusive, and ungraspable. Even the word happy is derived from the Icelandic word hap, H-A-P-P, meaning luck or chance. To my Western mind, it didn't seem the sort of thing that one could develop and sustain simply by training the mind. When I raised that objection, the Dalai Lama was quick to explain. When I say training the mind in this context, I'm not referring to mind merely as one's cognitive ability or intellect. Rather, I'm using the term in the sense of the Tibetan word sem, S-E-M, which has a much broader meaning, closer to psyche or spirit. It includes intellect and feeling, heart and mind. By bringing about a certain inner discipline, the Dalai Lama continues, we can undergo a transformation of our attitude, our entire outlook and approach to living. Generally speaking, one begins by identifying those factors which lead to happiness and those factors which lead to suffering. Having done this, one then sets about gradually eliminating those factors which lead to suffering and cultivating those which lead to happiness. That is the way. Slightly further on, Howard Cutler reflects on the Dalai Lama's opening words. Purpose of our life is to seek happiness. But isn't a life based on seeking personal happiness by nature self-centered, even self-indulgent? Not necessarily. In fact, survey after survey has shown that it is unhappy people who tend to be the most self-focused and are often socially withdrawn, brooding, and even antagonistic. Happy people, in contrast, are generally found to be more sociable, flexible, and creative, and are able to tolerate life's daily frustrations more easily than unhappy people. And more important, Cutler adds, they are found to be more loving and more forgiving than unhappy people. We begin then, he concludes, with the basic premise that the purpose of our life is to seek happiness. Here ends the reading. One time-honored technique for training the mind, the Tibetan sem, or heart mind, is meditation. So before I explore the notion of happiness further, let's do one by Brad Austin that focuses specifically on happiness. I've adapted it some. Begin by sitting up as straight. This is our spiritual practice time. Begin by sitting up as straight as is comfortable. The following breathing exercise helps us to relax the body and mind, which is to breathe in for a count of 4, hold the breath for a count of 4, and slowly exhale for the count of 8. So find your own rhythm, but begin that, please. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 8. That's a slow exhale. If your nose is clear enough, breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth, but do whatever works. Find your own rhythm. In for 4, hold for 4, exhale for a count of 8. Take a moment with that. And if you haven't yet, you might close your eyes and feel your body in your seat. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 8. Find a tempo that fits you. So now keep breathing, but let the counting go. Just keep your breath deep. Now bring attention to your face, your facial muscles. Are you holding any tension in your jaw, behind your eyes, or in your forehead? If so, allow these areas to just soften and relax. Let your tongue fall to the bottom of your mouth. Allow your lips and cheeks to relax. And now curl your lips up slightly to form an easy smile. You're the Mona Lisa. You may want to think of something amusing or simply the love you have for your family or friends. Focus on whatever brings up a happy memory or feeling. Keep breathing. And to hopefully assist your smile, some of you may recall that at our service before Thanksgiving, I shared some gratitude practices from the Book of Ralph, that being a flyer from the Ralph's grocery store chain. Here I'll keep breathing, keep smiling. Here I'll share a proverb from another wise or wise guy source, the old National Public Radio show Car Talk, which teaches, never criticize anyone until you've walked a mile in their shoes. That way, when you do criticize them, you're a mile away and you have their shoes. So I hope that brought a smile. Keep smiling behind your masks. And now mentally, move that energy down toward your heart and sort of pour in your smile to your opening heart chakra. Really do the mental, we're talking about mind training here per the Dalai Lama. Really do the visualization. What it would be like to bring that smile into your heart and let your heart smile too. And again, to begin to practice what the Dalai Lama said about training the heart mind, I'm going to say a series of affirmations now that can help us feel happier throughout our day. So keep your little smile as you speak and repeat them one at a time. There are 4. So listen and then repeat. I am happy and relaxed regardless of external circumstances. I am ultimately responsible for my own happiness. I find it easy to be happy and I smile often. My happiness is a gift to others. Now, almost done. Bring your awareness back to your smiling face. When you leave this meditation, you will keep that smile inside and maybe out. You will feel happier and lighter and find it easier to smile and be happier throughout your day. Now, gently bring your awareness to your entire body, maybe giving your fingers and toes a wiggle now. When you feel ready, open your eyes. And one last thing, being mindful of your neighbors. Stretch your arms out a little bit. Hold your hands flat. And bring them together fast. Again, faster, again. All right, we're applauding for life, we're applauding for happiness. Bringing that energy, shake it out. Thank you. I end that way because I've learned that going from a meditation straight into a talk, if I don't do something like, people are like, cool, yeah, whatever, dude. Yeah. And I suppose I could just continue. I could kind of go into a mumbled chant like, the trouble is if somebody snaps out of it halfway through, I'm in trouble. So I do it this way instead. So in our reading, we heard that pursuing happiness is far from self-indulgent. So to begin, let's accept Howard Cutler and the Dalai Lama's basic premise. We have a right to be happy, and it's good for others as well as ourselves. Of course, there's no one definition of what makes folks happy. Many aphorisms speak to this. One person's meat is another person's poison. Or remember, Jack Sprat could eat no fat, his wife could eat no lean, and so between them both, you see, they licked the platter clean. AKA different strokes for different folks. So, given that one size does not fit all in terms of happiness, it might serve us to consciously decide what's most likely to bring us happiness and shape our lives accordingly. About this, Dr. Martin Seligman, who's a renowned professor at the University of Pennsylvania of psychology, offers some guidance. He speaks of how for more than 70 years, the field of psychology operated from a disease model. In that it had two main victories. One, more than a dozen disorders, once considered untreatable, are now treatable. And two, along the way, a science developed, one able to measure and to some degree account for causes of problems and to manage them. This made many extremely miserable and troubled people less so. And of course, that is a great thing. But, says Dr. Seligman, it forgot about typical, relatively untroubled people. So he developed what's now known as positive psychology, which says that the field should be just as concerned with strength as with weakness, just as interested in building up the best things in life as in repairing the worst, and with making people's lives happier and more fulfilling. The notion was powerful, and apparently the time was ripe because he was elected the president of the American Psychological Association by the largest margin ever. Dr. Seligman tells how he had studied extremely miserable people to find out how they differed from most, but now he started looking at extremely happy people to find those differences. And he says the happiest people aren't more religious, they're not wealthier, they're not more attractive, they're not in better shape, they don't have more good events and let fewer bad events happen, but they have one commonality. They are really well embedded in a social network. They have a romantic partnership, typically, and a group of close friends. But he notes that it's important to note that these are not necessarily causal, they're correlational. In other words, we can say that the happiest people had those things, but it didn't necessarily mean that those made them happier. And he's talking here about happiness in the typical sense, like being more cheerful and jovial and buoyant. But he also suggests, quote, that's not nearly enough. And he and his colleagues began to look at therapeutic interventions over the centuries, as he put it, from the Buddha to Tony Robbins. And about 120 were proposed that supposedly make people happy. They studied these, they found some of the most effective in providing people greater lasting happiness. And he summed it up in this passage from his first book on the subject, Learned Optimism. Happiness is a scientifically unwieldy notion, but there are three forms of it you can pursue. For the pleasant life, you aim to have as much positive emotion as possible and learn the skills to amplify those emotions. For the engaged life, you identify your highest strengths and talents and recraft your life to use them as much as you can in work, love, friendship, parenting, and leisure. For the meaningful life, you use your highest strengths and talents to belong to and serve something that you believe is larger than the self. That is larger than the self. What? That is perfect timing. I love it. We had Ode to Joy, and now we've got a nice chant going. This is a good groove today. So with that as our background, we'll look at what Martin Seligman, we'll look more at what Martin Seligman says about the 3 different happy lives. But first, a quick interjection, which is that along with individual psychology, another vital aspect of happiness is social context, the environments in which our psychologies develop. One examination of this, in fact, found that this was the cover story of the November 2017 National Geographic magazine titled The World's Happiest Places. And in it, author Dan Buettner reports that researchers who published something called the World Happiness Report, there is such a thing, each year found that about 3/4, in fact, of human happiness is driven by social and cultural factors. 3/4. And he writes, these factors don't materialize by chance. They are intimately related to a country's government and its cultural values. The happiest places incubate happiness for their people. In many cases, people thrive because the places where they live give them an invisible lift, constantly nudging them into behaviors that favor long-term well-being. So my only question on this societal aspect of happiness today is this: what might be the opposite of a nation that gives their citizens an invisible lift, an invisible drag, an enervating, sort of anxiety-producing, soul-sucking drain? I'll come back to this in future sermons. But for now, let's check out more of what Martin Seligman says about the 3 happy lives. Again, the pleasant life, the engaged life, and the meaningful life. The pleasant life is basically what you might think it would be. Find as much positive sensation and emotion as possible. Now, this sounds great, but there are 2 main drawbacks that they discovered. One is that positive emotion is, in this sense, is largely inborn. We sort of have a baseline and it might move some, but it kind of tends to come back to the same place. The other thing is that in terms of pursuing positive and enjoyable pursuits, we rapidly become habituated to these. So what gave us a lot of pleasure at first tends to fade, and we can never quite recapture that same juice from that experience. And there's no real way around this, apparently. It just kind of is part of our human psyche. Number 2, the engaged life. Here, the satisfactions are found in your career, in parenting, relationships, leisure. Common to these is entering a state of flow, they say, something that brings you into an intense, sort of timeless sense of concentration and a crisp sense of clarity, where you kind of forget yourself. Sensory. This actually is almost asensory. You're just sort of lost in the other experience. So you can do this by measuring your signature strengths and then sort of shaping your life to match those signature strengths. And Seligman actually has it might be online, a place you can go and sort of examine your signature strengths. So to recap, the pleasant life, positive emotion; the engaged life, positive absorption. Number 3 of the 3 happy lives, the meaningful life, AKA the altruistic life. And I'm grateful that someone mentioned specifically altruism earlier. This starts where the engaged life does, knowing that using your highest signature strengths and then using them to belong to, in this case, in the service of something larger than you are. Then Martin Seligman posed the overarching research question: to what extent does the pursuit of the pleasant life, the engaged life, and the meaningful or altruistic life contribute to overall life satisfaction. The results about two of the lies may not be surprising. The meaningful life is the strongest in terms of long-term satisfaction. The engaged life is also strong. But what surprised me a bit is that the pleasant life, the one that pursues lots of positive emotions and experiences, and by the way, the one that advertising tries to sell us as the life to pursue and to envy, yielded almost no long-term satisfaction. Pleasure only brings satisfaction when meaning and engagement are already strong, and then it's like the whipped cream and the cherry. So social science now affirms what the spiritual idea has been, that especially apropos in this holiday season, it really is better to give than to receive. Not only because it helps others, but because it actually giving from ourselves to others brings us deeper satisfaction and happiness. Now, I need to add an irony to this. It's also likely that the deeper the happiness, the more it's connected to adversity. This notion comes from the German philosopher, poet, composer, and writer Friedrich Nietzsche, who lived from 1844 to 1900. And Alain de Botton, in a book called The Consolations of Philosophy, distills Nietzsche's convictions like this. The most fulfilling human projects appeared inseparable from a degree of torment. The sources of our greatest joys lying awkwardly close to those of our greatest pains. Why? Because no one is able to produce a great work of art without experience, nor achieve a worldly position immediately, nor be a great lover at the first attempt. And in the interval between initial failure and subsequent success, in the gap between who we wish to be and who we are at present, must come pain, anxiety, envy, and even humiliation. We suffer because we cannot spontaneously master the ingredients of fulfillment. He continues, Nietzsche was striving to correct the belief that fulfillment must come easily or not at all, a belief ruinous in its effects, for it leads us to withdraw prematurely from challenges that might have been overcome if only we had been prepared for the savagery legitimately demanded by almost everything valuable. Fulfillment was to be reached not by avoiding pain, but by recognizing its role as a natural, inevitable step on the way to achieving anything good. F. Scott Fitzgerald seconded Nietzsche's notion this way: nothing any good isn't hard. Nothing any good isn't hard. I find that clever. But I want to repeat a serious phrase from Alain de Botton because I think it's so crucial. Nietzsche was striving to correct the belief that fulfillment must come easily or not at all, a belief ruinous in its effects, for it leads us to withdraw prematurely from challenges that might have been overcome if only we had been prepared for the savagery legitimately demanded by almost everything valuable. In these times, I think it's vital to take this to heart on the cultural and political levels, as well as on the personal. Nothing any good isn't hard. Nietzsche himself also said elsewhere, my humanity is incessant self-overcoming. My humanity is incessant self-overcoming. Which brings me full circle in closing to the Dalai Lama via his The Art of Happiness co-author, Howard Cutler. Elsewhere in the book, Cutler, the psychiatrist, relates how a new male client comes to see him. Their exchange starts out quietly, but suddenly the man launches into a venomous, raging rant about his ex-wife, recounting grievance after grievance, including an affair she had. It appears he's just getting warmed up when Cutler realizes the hour is almost over. So he says, there's clearly a lot to work through here, and we'll take it up in future sessions. Then Cutler asks, and this man is worked up. Cutler asks, by the way, how long have you been divorced? The man replies, 17 years last May. "17 years last May." Obviously, this serves as Exhibit A for what the Dalai Lama means when he talks about training the mind for greater happiness. This is not the way to do it. And he encapsulates the point this way. We can see that there are many ways in which we actively contribute to our own experience of mental unrest and suffering. Although in general, mental and emotional afflictions themselves come naturally, often it is our own reinforcement of them, of those negative emotions, that makes them so much worse. We also often add to our pain and suffering by being overly sensitive, overreacting to minor things, and sometimes taking things too personally. So I think that to a large extent, he concludes, whether you suffer depends on how you respond to a given situation. In my experience, he is spot on. Our internal interpretations, or often misinterpretations, of others' motives and of occurrences, and our subsequent judgments and attitudes repeatedly determine our happiness far more than the events themselves. Hence the Buddhist teaching, pain is inevitable, misery is optional. So let's not let our untrained minds rob us of our happiness. If you're troubled by something, question and check out your assumptions and conclusions. There might well be another perspective, another reality. And of course, there are exceptions, but most things that bother us at first aren't personal, aren't intentional, and aren't that big a deal. Also, please remember, earlier today, we commemorated the loss of a beloved member of this fellowship. We are all finite. How do we really want to spend our days and years and life? Howard Cutler writes, our days are numbered. We never know. But whether we live a day or a century, the central question always remains. What is the purpose of our life? What makes our lives meaningful? Again, the Dalai Lama answers, the purpose of your life is to seek happiness. During this reflective season of the year, as you ponder these essential questions and that response, consider one more piece of data from Professor Martin Seligman. He did an experiment where he had people do something fun and then do something altruistic, then reflect on the after effects. The results showed that after doing something fun, satisfaction drops quickly and stays flat. When people do something to help someone or something else, the satisfaction lasts and lasts. So with that in our heart minds, happy, happy, happy holidays. Blessed be and amen. We come to this fellowship because we love what exists here. It is a living entity, it needs nurturing and sustenance, its breath and heartbeat, its life itself is only derived from its living components, us. For those with us online, hello again. We are glad you're here. And there's a slide that provides options about how to contribute to this fellowship's financial health. For those here, for safety's sake, we're not passing an offering basket. So if you have Venmo, you might notice there is a QR code on your order of service. You can scan that to donate, or you may drop a check into the basket or cash on your way out as you depart today. Please make any checks out to Huff, H-U-U-F. And again, please don't drop those now, but do so as you depart. As an opportunity to practice the spiritual art of generosity, this morning's offering will now be, at least symbolically, gratefully received as Annette Grenay Ho blesses us with more music. We are grateful for the gifts offered today and for all the gifts and blessings in our lives. For some of you, that might mean celebrating the Festival of Lights, and if so, happy, happy, happy Hanukkah. And thank you, Annette, for choosing today's music based on that theme, and also for bringing an ode to joy. And if you're visiting with us today, that's a gift in itself. We extend an especially warm welcome to you, and I'd love to speak with you after, if you'd care to. And because you are our special guest, I'll be out front after the service, and then I'll join Zoom folks a little bit after that. Also recall that as the weather moves us more and more inside, like today, it's helpful if people register ahead of time so we can gauge our numbers. And you can sign up by going to huff.org and clicking on the link at the top of the homepage, or you can contact Bridget Garudi in the administrative office, and she can add your name to the list. Lastly, to help assure everyone's safety, please keep social distance as you exit today. If you'd like to say, oh, I already said that, like to say hello, I'll be out front. Meanwhile, thank you for being here, and thanks to everyone who made this service possible, including each of you. And now returning to a spirit of reverence. May love and wisdom be in your mind. May love and courage be in your heart. May love and strength be in your hands. May Spirit be with you and work through you today and all your days. Go in peace, walk in love, and be a light unto the world. And be happy. Remember, it's not just good for you, it's good for others. We extinguish our chalice, in fact, with closing words from the Dalai Lama. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Annette now plays our closing song. As without actually touching, we stretch our hands out to one another in spirit here and on Zoom. Again, for safety's sake, we're not singing with full voices, but you may hum along or sing quietly. The lyrics are in your order of service. Shalom, salam aleikum, blessed be, ashe, namaste, aho, and amen. Go from here in peace. Thank you all. If we had the gospel choir here, I'd have them sing, "Oh, Happy Day."
You all have the power to unmute.
Hello.
From my picture, yeah.
Oh, good. Jenny is here.
Joanne.
Hello, Sina.
Hi, Joanne.
Hello. You got your computer back?
Oh. No, I'm on the phone.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
on hold.
you look good. So, hey.
Yeah.
How are you, Jenny?
I'm walking around. I just walked for a half hour, I realized. Yeah. So that's getting better and better. It wasn't a very fast walk. I saw somebody running past me. They came out at one end and came out at the back, and I had walked, oh yes, just a couple of blocks, and she'd gone round and round and round several times, but that's fine. No problem. Yeah. Yeah.
One day at a time.
Now I'm going to.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Sue. Good morning, Zachary. Nice to see
Hi.
you. Nice to see you.
Thank you for the service. That was interesting. I've only experienced a couple Unitarian services.
Oh, what brought you here this morning?
A friend told me that there was one near Arcata, and I thought I would check it out.
Cool. And where are you?
Oh, I'm in Anderson, over by Reading.
Oh, yeah. Well, welcome.
So yeah, maybe if I go that way, I'll be able to see you all in person. It looked like a nice place.
Like it. Try to be friendly.
Don't have fires.
No fire, no footing.
Thank you very much. I like the science stuff. He's talking about scientific research on positivity. That's really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, Bonnie. How's things there?
Hi. I'm feeling really grateful to be in community this morning, this community that knew Marianne so well, you know, that she was such a deep part of. It's like somehow all of us being together brings her here with us. So I think that's one of the most touching things about having a community. You know, we often look at all the hard part, but that's really a beautiful part. So grateful to see and be with you.
Yeah, I am too. Really, really glad to be here today, just to be part of that. I mean, yeah.
Marianne lives on in our minds or in our hearts. So she's not gone for us completely. She's still with us.
Yep.
There's a scientific basis for it even.
Yeah.
Hey, Bonnie. Bonnie?
Yeah.
This is Sina. Did you get my messages?
About your connection to Marianne?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you probably have to forget them now.
Yeah.
She was thinking about the fellowship right up to the last week.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Mandy. How are you?
I'm glad. Well, I am recuperating and doing okay, and glad to be in person with you all. I'm torn because I am able to watch my Salem UU group on YouTube at 10:30 in the morning. It was a good sermon, and I turned on to this one in time to hear the ending part of Marianne. Jeff told me yesterday that she had passed, and I did not hear when the memorial will be or anything, and she's just such a joy in my life.
Mandy?
And at some
Mandy?
point I want to get back and seeing people in person or spending time, but I'm still really struggling with I got my mom moved down to Georgia.
Awesome.
And she's able to answer the phone, but it's still confusing. She's apparently they love her in assisted living down there. Yeah. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you break up a bit, but we got that. It sounds good.
It
sounds like
my
that's
connection is too.
So glad you're here from Salem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had a better internet connection. And Jenny, I love seeing you there. So precious to see you. And everybody, I'm really glad that I'm here and glad y'all are here. Can you tell me when Marianne's celebration of life is?
It hasn't been planned yet. Hasn't been planned. In the new year. In the new year sometime.
How old was she? I remember her 90th birthday, but that was a long time ago.
97.
97.
I was sorry. I just adored her 90th birthday celebration. That was so precious. And what a rock star.
Yeah.
Shall we go? I think we're gonna head off for the day.
Okay.
Up to you
Good to
all.
see you both. See you all.
Good to see you.
Bye.
Bye.
We're gonna not have a dance party today?
Well,
Sounds
Scarlett is our queen of the dance party.
Show us how it's done.
She's got to
Go
start the
ahead,
music.
I think she's off. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think she's torn between two places,
Yeah, I can't see her.
as is Peter.
As am I.
Well,
But it's good to be with you all.
yeah, you too. Take care. I'm gonna leave.
Okay. You guys have a good afternoon. Good rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Joanne. Well, I wish my internet connection was
It's
better.
good now. It's good now, Mandy.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Sue.
I'm glad your mom is settled in.
Yeah, apparently they love her at the assisted living center because even though she has bad memory problems with the Alzheimer's, she's still highly functioning and social as she's always been. And there's a lot of women there that consider her their best friend. And she just does. My Uncle Charlie, her uncle, lived in a retirement community nursing home. There's a word in between those two, but he had his legs amputated at the knees for diabetes. He lived to be 106, and he would go around, no, 104. His brother was 106. He would go around every single day in his wheelchair to everybody in that Methodist community and say hi to them. And he told me that, you know, sometimes people wouldn't know his name, but sometimes they didn't know their own name, but they were always glad to see him. So I sent Mom off with that idea, and I reinforced it every time I talked to her about how she could be Uncle Charlie down there for people. And and it was hard at first because they were locked in their rooms. Then they were allowed outside, but not off of the property. She was able to go to my brother's house, which is 2 miles away, for Thanksgiving. And my sister-in-law sent a picture that they did it on the Red Wing China that I had not packed, but my brother complained about. And so I couldn't do the move right. And I brought home way too many photographs to ever be able to go through to be able to make them meaningful to Mom. And in the little room that she's in, which is no bigger than my own bedroom. And I am grateful she spent 1.5 years in pandemic in my art room, just this same size, you know, but not in her house, because that made it easier to transition, I think. And Jeff's support has been instrumental, and he's just broken up over not getting to fix her brunches, but she has his phone as one of the phone numbers. And so when my brother and his wife go to visit, they'll set her up with a phone call before they leave. So we get phone calls from her every so often. And I usually call her about 3 hours and 15 minutes before a show she likes. And I'm unstable again, so.
That socialization is important.
Yeah. And I couldn't give it to her here. And it was just stressing me out, and I still feel guilty, and I have too much stuff, and I don't know how to move it around, but I still have artwork in my head, and when I clear out the art room from the donatables, maybe I can start playing with it someday. But right now, how do I want to spend my days and my years and my life? And it's sorting stuff, you know. I recognize that this is the only time in my life that I'll have to inherit anything from my parents' house. This is it. And it was very difficult up there in June and July, as hot as it was in Salem. We were up there when it was 117 degrees and no air conditioning, and trying to think straight and figure out what we needed. I did donate 4 different things. I gave the Breast Health Project a big box of jewelry that I spent about 16, 18 hours with a friend here sorting and grouping into logical things. And they were able to use 4 different things, and it brought $116, you know, on their online. So that was something that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't. And one friend that went up there with us spent some time experientially with mom looking at the jewelry while I was going through DVDs and CDs and trying to figure that one out with dad's barbershop and everything. And so she got to hear the stories, even though mom didn't have all the stories. She could hear what mom knew. And I've invited her to come over this week to go back through them. And her birthday's the 13th, and I'm going to let